Hello, this is Gail Fry, and this is EDL 850, Module 12, Case Study Narrative, Copyright, and the Computer Regulations Governing Technology. So our case study was all about Keith Sample, who is a principal at a small rural school, and he has a librarian slash media specialist that has accidentally done some copyright infringement, and one of the teachers comes and talks to him and confronts the situation, and then he goes and talks to the library media specialist, who clearly does not know copyright regulations. How can principals balance support from parents with interference with school operations? First and foremost, parental support is crucial in the school environment, and being honest with parents about why it's important to follow the copyright in this scenario would help parents better understand why the principal is asking that all copies be taken back and that no more copies be made. In general, principals need to build positive relationships with parents, and sometimes this becomes an issue if parents unknowingly overstep with school operations. Copyright infringement could become a huge issue and a financial burden on the school, so having a principal who is open and honest about copyright laws, and as well as making sure all staff, including parent volunteers, are aware of the copyright laws can help balance the support and interference aspect. What school policies need to be developed to prevent this situation in the future? This semester has taught me a lot in this class because I've been a teacher for 10 years, and many of these things have not been covered in any training that I've been in, or if they were taught, they were just skimmed over. Policies and procedures in a school that wants to prevent copyright infringement, along with many other situations, should provide yearly training. The training should be over specific examples of what copyright infringement is and how to avoid it. And then policies should establish an atmosphere of expected compliance. After trainings are completed, participants should sign a form stating that they have attended and understood the training. Reflectively evaluate the situation and policies with regard to legal, ethical, and equity issues. In the scenario, it's clear that Mrs. Lynn's not aware of the copyright laws and the possibility of copyright infringement and the ramifications that go along with it. Her lack of knowledge has caused her to be unconcerned with the ethical part of using someone else's work without permission. To violate copyright because a person has little chance of being caught is legally, ethically, and of course morally wrong. Students are watching us, and we are to be their role models. Taking what isn't yours, copyrighted materials, is against the law. Analyze how law and policy are applied consistently, fairly, equitably, and ethically within school. The legal standard for deciding what constitutes fair use of copyrighted work involves examining and balancing the effects of 4 different relevant factors: whether the purpose and character of the use is of a commercial nature or of nonprofit, whether the nature of the copyrighted work itself is primarily factual creative, how much work is used, or how substantial is the part used, and how the use affects the author's ability to market and realize a profit from the work. Building administrators should provide all teachers in the district with a simple written list of guidelines. And those guidelines say that indiscriminate copy of materials, whether hard copy or online, even if the material does not bear copyright notice, copying computer programs, except for archiving or backing up personally owned copies, copying consumables, including workbooks, copying short articles, essays, or graphics to create anthologies or class collections, and copying in excess of the fair use guidelines. How could you communicate policies, laws, regulations, and procedures to appropriate school stakeholders? Communication with stakeholders can be done through the school website. I would recommend either putting a time on the website for PTA or site council meetings, and then doing presentations or trainings for stakeholders on all of these during our site council and or PTA meetings. Having this information available for stakeholders allows for open communication, and it makes the stakeholder feel more involved in the school and also feel more valued. How do you monitor and ensure adherence to laws, rights, policies, and regulations to make sure the situation doesn't happen again? To ensure adherence to laws, rights, policies, and regulations as a school leader, I would need to make sure my staff was trained on copyright laws. Not only should they be trained, but they should sign an agreement that they have watched and read and understand the copyright infringement. What are some of the key strategies? One of them is, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a community to build a better school community. So there's 5 different things. Expand your vision of school to include community, reach out to stakeholders, create a community resource map, connect with curriculum, and design a design challenge for the community. What ways what ways do current what ways do current laws, regulations, policies, and procedures impact meeting various needs? Although there are many copyright restrictions and laws, there's also the guidelines for fair use. And these guidelines allow for copying of copyrighted materials for students learning and research without written permission in some instances. As a principal, it is our job and our duty to make all of these laws, regulations, policies, and procedures available to our staff so that they can follow and implement them. How would you use technology to improve the quality and efficiency of operations and management? Technology is used every day in our school, many times a day. It's an important component in the classroom to providing more in a lesson as well as engaging students. It's also a way to, involve our stakeholders, the community. It's also a way for staff to communicate. As a future leader, I can think of many ways to use technology. One important aspect is making teachers aware of the many opportunities they have to engage their students in technology. At the same time, as a future school leader, I'd want to mark any machinery capable of making copies with signs about copyright and how infringement could occur. This would be a sign that would also be in each classroom and possibly a lesson that teachers, the librarian, and/or technology teacher could share with students. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.